Welcome. I'm Doug Morgan, and you're listening to Uncommon Sense, where we hunt for the truth in the topics you're not supposed to talk about, Christianity and politics. Well, hello, everyone. Yes, it is time for FOMO Friday. We love FOMO Friday because we know you're not listening to propaganda media anymore. And so you also want to know what's going on, though. And so what we've done is we've done for, 6 years now? We have brought you FOMO Friday, where we look at the stories of the week, we tell you what's going on, and that way you don't have that fear of missing out. And we have been recently starting out our FOMO Fridays with the DOGE report. And from a series of articles from the Daily Wire comes our DOGE report, and the now shuttered U.S. Agency for International Development, that's the USAID, we've talked about that. They paid Ukraine models, okay, and designers to go to Paris Fashion Week and other frivolous luxuries. This, according to Senator Joan Ernst, who is a Republican from Iowa, and she said this on Wednesday. Ernst revealed that USAID did not report the expenditures. They did not report the expenditures in public databases and tried to block her staff from seeing them, claiming they were classified. Yeah, they were classified. We're sending Ukrainian models and designers to Paris. That's got to be classified. In reality, she said, they were not classified, merely embarrassing for how wasteful they were. Ukrainians leader Zelensky has demanded billions from American taxpayers, raising the specter of gruesome deaths and suffering. But the staff learned that the aid intended to alleviate economic distress in the war-torn nation was spent on such frivolous activities as sending Ukraine models and designers on junkets to New York City, London Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week, and South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. This is a memo obtained by the Daily Wire. Ukraine recipients of Competitive Economic Program, or CEP, funds included the memo saying a modern women's attire company was given $150,000, a trade mission for a fashion design house, $128,000. A photographer for fashion design publications, $126,000. A purveyor of contemporary knitwear. Contemporary knitwear. I want to see that at least. For my $161,000, I'd like to at least see that. A luxury bridal brand was given $84,000. Marketplace for designer artisanal pieces inspired by folk crafts, $84,000. I can't even tell you what that is. Money going to Ukraine also went to a vineyard, $89,000 of which went there, and an artisanal fruit tea company, $104,000. A custom carpet manufacturer, $2 million. A conventionary company, $678,000. So obviously looks like some desserts or something. A dog collar manufacturer and a designer of upscale furniture also got money. Now, Ernst said that for years, USAID had treated her efforts at congressional oversight with open hostility. She wrote to Secretary of State Marco Rubio this month that the agency, quote, has engaged in a demonstrated pattern of obstructionism in which they refused to say how they were spending money. When they begrudgingly let congressional overseers see their finances, bureaucrats videotaped the investigators and not only barred them from copying the records, but even restricted their note-taking. Ernst, the chair of the Senate Small Business Committee, said USAID would only allow her staff to review documents, quote, in a sensitive, compartmented information facility, or an SCIF, like they like to call it, at the USAID headquarters. These requirements were all presented to my staff under the false pretense that this data was classified, unquote. Another quote here said that from my staff's review of the data on USAID assistance to businesses in Ukraine thus far, it seems clear why USAID was trying to withhold information from Congress. Based on the in-camera review, it appears that over 5,000 Ukraine businesses received U.S. taxpayer-funded assistance. She found that USAID was also allowing NGOs, or non-government organizations, to keep more than, get this, 25% of the grants for themselves. The NGOs got to keep a quarter of the grant money to pay for, as they put it, indirect costs, such as office rent, and that it claimed it would be against the law for it to provide her information necessary to evaluate whether that was appropriate. So this is what you get when you don't have transparency and when you don't have accountability. I would love to hear from anyone who is against this kind of transparency and house cleaning finally coming to Washington, D.C. And speaking of house cleaning, Amazon founder and Washington Post owner Jeff Bezos said on Wednesday that his newspaper will undergo a significant shift, as he puts it, in its opinion section, focusing more on the support of, get this, the support and defense of two pillars: personal liberties and free markets. Wow, that's a change. Bezos, who has criticized his paper for its continuing fall in credibility, announced that the change in a note to the Washington Post staff on Wednesday morning, and he said, "quote I am of America and for America, and proud to be so. Our country did not get here by being typical. And a big part of America's success has been freedom in the economic realm and everywhere else." This is what Bezos wrote, okay? He said, freedom is ethical. It minimizes coercion and practical. It drives creativity, invention, and prosperity. Bezos said that the Post will cover other topics too, of course, but viewpoints opposing those pillars will be left to be published by others. Bezos added that he offered David Shipley, the editorial page editor, the opportunity to remain in charge, but only if he was 100% on board with the new direction. And Shipley decided to step away. Shocker, right? Bezos says the paper's shift to defending personal liberties and free markets is an attempt to revive viewpoints that he believes are underserved. That's a good word, right? In the current state of news opinion. Quote, I'm confident that free markets and personal liberties are right for America, he said. I also believe these viewpoints are underserved in the current market of ideas and new opinion. I'm excited for us together to fill that void. That's good. And you know, a welcome change in what we're seeing more and more all the time. Going from a news organization that is starting to get it to a news personality that doesn't, though, CNN actor Jake Tapper is he's co-authoring a book with Axios correspondent Alex Thompson, detailing the cover-up, as he puts it, of former President Joe Biden's serious decline. Yeah, I kid you not. Okay, this This is true. I checked it. Okay. It's not a part of the Babylon Bee. I promise. Okay. I've told you before, if liberals don't have double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all. Well, the book entitled Original Sin, President Biden's Decline, Its Cover-Up, and His Disastrous Choice to Run Again, pins the blame on Biden and his family for being part of a larger act of extended public deception that has few precedences. This is according to the book's publisher, of course, which is a Penguin Press. Tapper co-hosted Biden's disastrous June 2024 debate against Donald Trump, which eventually led to Biden's exit, of course, from the presidential race, while Thompson reported on the debate fallout and the White House's attempt to keep Biden in the 2024 contest. Quote, what you will learn makes President Biden's decision to run for re-election seem shockingly narcissistic, self-delusional, and reckless. A desperate bet that went bust, and part of a larger act of extended public deception that has few precedents. This is a Penguin Press, is what they said in a press release about adding that Biden, quote, his family and his senior aides were so convinced that only he could beat Trump again, they lied to themselves, allies, and the public about his condition and limitations. Yeah, well, in the book, Tapper and Thompson examine what they call Biden's original sin, his decision to run for a second term at 81 years old. And it's going to be released on May 20th. The book announcement was blasted, of course, by conservatives on social media who argued that Tapper and Thompson were part of the legacy media's cover-up of Biden's mental decline. Before Biden's catastrophic debate performance against Trump, both Tapper and Thompson criticized conservatives for pointing out clear signs that the former president, his mental capacities were going downhill. During the 2020 campaign, Tapper came to Biden's defense multiple times when Republicans criticized him for struggling during his campaign speeches. So you may be asking me, well, what is happening here? Well, what's happening here is you have a propaganda media that has lost its credibility. They've just lost all credibility. When that debate went down the way that it did, and Biden was just laid out bare for everyone to see. That's why I said that Biden would never do a debate with Trump, and I was wrong, and I had to apologize on this very podcast, because you knew this was the way it was going to happen, and it did. It went down exactly as you knew it would happen. He looked like he was a deer in headlights. He just, you could tell he did not have it, and everybody could see it. And at that moment, the propaganda media lost their credibility with everybody, because everybody then knew they were being lied to, and they lost that credibility, and they're trying to get some trust back, and they're doing it by trying to blame their actions on being duped by the Biden administration, right? So they're the bad guys now. They're the ones that get thrown under the bus. It's not the propaganda media. Oh, we didn't know at all. Well, yeah, that's just a load, okay? That everybody knows that's not true. In fact, let me just play one little interview. Okay, this is the same Jake Tapper in an interview with Laura Trump, just in case you forgot.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline. Okay. That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You are
to watch somebody on stage
it's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnoose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked
is
about
that
a cognitive
we can
decline.
see that Joe Biden
I have
is
one last
struggling
question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure it was from a place of concern. We all believe that. Laura Trump, thank you so much.
Okay. I'm just going to leave that there. Okay. Now we know he's writing a book saying, well, I didn't know it was, I was duped. Okay. Well, moving on. In another story, FBI Director Kash Patel responded to a letter from Attorney General Pam Bondi on Thursday that accused the FBI of lying to her about turning over its files on the notorious child sex predator Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, some of you were waiting for this, and you were maybe just a little bit disappointed. Well, here's the quote: "The FBI is entering a new era, one that will be defined by integrity, accountability, and the unwavering pursuit of justice." That's what Patel said. And he said there will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, and no stone left unturned. And anyone from the prior or current Bureau who undermines this will be swiftly pursued. Yeah, that's pretty definite, don't you think? He also said that if there are gaps, we will find them. If records have been hidden, we will uncover them, and we will bring everything we find to the DOJ to be fully assessed and transparently disseminated to the American people as it should be. The oath we take is to the Constitution, and under my leadership, that promise will be upheld without compromise. Well, yeah, again, that's kind of what you want to hear from your FBI director. Patel's response followed the letter from Bondi on Thursday, in which she claimed that a source on Wednesday night told her that she had not received all the Epstein files, despite the FBI's repeated assurance that she had. Quote, "Before you came into office, I requested the full and complete files related to Jeffrey Epstein." This is what Bondi wrote to Patel. And this according to a copy of the letter that was posted on X by Michael Schellenberger. Quote, "In response to this request, I received approximately 200 pages of documents which consisted primarily of flight logs, Epstein's list of contacts, and a list of victims' names and phone numbers. Quote, I repeatedly questioned whether this was the full set of documents responsive to my request and was repeatedly assured by the FBI that we had received the full set of documents." Bondi continued by saying, "Late yesterday, I learned from a source that the FBI field office in New York was in possession of thousands of pages of documents related to the investigation and indictment of Epstein. Despite my repeated requests, the FBI never disclosed the existence of these files," unquote. Well, a source who reviewed the files Bondi released told the New York Post that the documents would likely be a disappointment to those in the public, hoping that the documents would provide new details about Epstein's criminal scheme. And many names from Epstein's flight logs from Epstein's private jet were already released as part of a lawsuit from one of his alleged victims. The names released included many famous people. We've covered some of this, but some of these famous people will include, of course, Prince Andrew of England, the Kate Blanchett, Bill Clinton, Cameron Diaz, Leonardo DiCaprio, not Da Vinci, little past his time, Al Gore, Stephen Hawking, Michael Jackson, George Lucas, Kevin Spacey, Donald Trump, and Bruce Willis, according to a list published by Newsweek. Now, none of the individuals on the list have been charged with any wrongdoing, and many of them have claimed that they flew to Epstein's plane for business meetings. Epstein allegedly killed himself, killed himself in 2019 while in federal custody awaiting a trial for sex trafficking. Well, a new study on abortion just came out, and this one is rather interesting. You kind of want to perk up your ears here. Women who had abortions were far more likely to attempt suicide than women who delivered their babies, is what a new study found. About 35%, that's a super high number, about 35% of women who had an abortion attempted suicide, according to the study published last month in the peer-reviewed journal of psychosomatic obstetrics and gynecology. I didn't even know that was a journal. Anyway, this was much higher than the 13% suicide attempt rate for women who successfully delivered their babies and had not had any miscarriages or problematic pregnancies, meaning that those were difficult, unplanned, and unwanted. The study surveyed a total of 2,829 American women between 41 and 45, asking them about their reproductive histories and any history of attempted suicide. The women were asked to rank how much their pregnancy outcome contributed to the suicidal thoughts and suicidal attempts and self-destructive behaviors. Women with miscarriages and problematic pregnancies reported lower suicide attempt rates at 30% to 28%, respectively. And women who had never been pregnant had much lower, 17% suicide attempt rate. And women who had successfully delivered their babies had the lowest suicidal attempt rate of 13%. That's a huge difference. You see, women who said they felt coerced into an abortion contrary to their own values and preferences had the highest attempted suicide rate of 46%. Almost half, more than half the women who had abortions and attempted suicide said their abortions were a moderate to high contributor to their high suicide attempts. And women who said they felt coerced into an abortion were particularly likely to say that it was a major contributor to their suicidal attempt. Abortion was significantly more likely to be associated with self-destructive thoughts and suicidal thoughts or behaviors compared to all three other pregnancy outcomes, the study said. The study concluded with the higher risk of suicide among post-abortive women is not coincidental. Quote, women who experience pregnancy losses, either induced or natural, are at higher risk for suicidal and self-destructive thoughts and behaviors, said David Reardon, the researcher behind the study. And this is what he wrote in his conclusion. He said, exposure to abortion, especially when the abortion is contrary to the values and preferences of the pregnant women, may contribute to higher rates of suicide attempts, suicidal thoughts, and self-destructive behaviors. He wrote this, adding that these findings should be used to improve pre-abortion screenings as well as post-abortion care. Of course, Planned Parenthood doesn't care, but Reardon, director of the Elliott Institute and an associate scholar with the Charlotte Lozier Institute, conducted the survey in July. And the survey's results dovetail with Reardon's previous 2023 survey that found women say nearly 70% of abortions were unwanted, inconsistent with women's preferences, or coerced. The older study reported that among more than 200 women in the United States, 33% said the abortion was wanted. 43% said it was accepted but inconsistent with their values and preferences. And 24% said it was unwanted and coerced. That's almost a quarter. Crazy, right? So according to leftist liberal logic, we should ban all abortions, right? I mean, their justification for transgender surgeries is that we are saving their lives because, they have such a high suicide rate. Of course, all credible studies show that it actually increases suicides in transgenders. But let's just stick to their so-called logic, right? Abortion is dramatically increasing suicide rates in women. So they should work to ban abortions from now on if they want to not be hypocritical, right? Well, I tried to stick to politics and Christianity but this is FOMO Friday, so I can occasionally throw in a sports thing, right? The National Football League is looking to replace its chain gang measurement system with the high-tech Hawkeye virtual technology to measure first downs starting with the 2025 season. This is going to be a big change. Quote, among the interesting items from the NFL football ops session with media, the Hawkeye virtual measurement for line to gain is slated to replace the chains as the primary measurement system for the regular season in 2025. This according to an X post on Wednesday from the NFL Network's Mike Garafolo, I guess is how you pronounce that. Quote, the chain gang will remain on sidelines as a backup. Average time to measure with the chains is 75 seconds. Virtual measurements in the testing phase, 30 seconds. So, the league says that the average of how many times they have to go out and measure is about 12 weekly measurements. So you're saving some time there. The decision can be made without a vote from the owners of the 32 NFL teams, according to the Washington Post. Quote, the whole effort was to begin taking a look at it to see what worked and what didn't work. Walt Anderson, the NFL's officiating rules analyst and club communications liaison, said in August. Interestingly, the officials must first place the ball on the field manually following the play, and then the Hawkeye virtual measurement will assess if the ball has made it past the line of gain or not. So you're not taking the human element out of it, but you are going to be putting in some technology finally. The technology was first tested during the 2024 preseason with a growing group calling for it to become a reality following what some felt was a questionable first down call during the AFC Championship between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. This really will be interesting to watch and see if it changes, how it changes the game or if it does at all. But we did want to end on a sad note this week. I mean, I don't know if we want to end on a sad note, but we definitely wanted to cover this because this gentleman was one of my favorite actors, and he has passed away. Legendary actor Gene Hackman, who was 95, by the way, did die this week. The Hollywood star was discovered at his home in Santa Fe, New Mexico, along with his wife, classical pianist Betsy Arawaka, I guess is how you pronounce that. Arakawa, sorry, I believe that's actually how you pronounce it. She was 63, by the way, on Wednesday, and the couple's dog was also found deceased, one of them anyway. After responding to a welfare check request, law enforcement entered the home around 1:45 p.m. Local, and officials said that there were no signs of foul play, but there was enough for them to want to do an investigation. So they are conducting an investigation, and that is ongoing. Hackman played many different types of roles throughout his decades-long career, including being cast as villains and heroes and anti-heroes in many dramas and comedies and action films. He was a 5-time Oscar nominee, winning it twice. Once for The French Connection in 1972 and again for Unforgiven in 1992. He's also known for his films such as I Never Sang for My Father in 1970. I don't know if I've seen that one. I've seen I've seen a lot of them anyway. Mississippi Burning, another excellent movie, 1988. Hackman played Lexer Luthor in Superman 1978 and the sequel Superman 2 in 1980. He also acted in the Poseidon Adventure, 1972, Scarecrow in 1973, the Conversation, 1974. You can just see, I mean, he had a great career. A Bridge Too Far, 1977, good film. Under Fire, 1983, Power in 1986. Loose Cannons, 1990, right? Oh, The Firm. You have to see that one. And if you haven't already, 1993. The Quick and the Dead, 1995. The Birdcage, 1996. Enemy of the State. I think that was one of his best. Really like that one, 1998. Behind Enemy Lines in 2001. And Runaway Jury in 2003. His final Hollywood project was a starring role in Welcome to Mooseport in 2004. He was born in San Bernardino, California in 1930, and he moved around a lot with his family. He often went to the movies for entertainment and looked up to actors that he saw on the screen, including his favorite James Cagney. According to People, anyway. The actor recalled his father abandoning the family when he was 13. He said, "It was so precise. Maybe that's why I became an actor," Hackman. He told this to Vanity Fair in 2013 about his father waving goodbye. He said, "I doubt I would have become so sensitive to human behavior if that hadn't happened to me as a child, and if I hadn't realized how much one small gesture can mean." Hackman enlisted in the Marines for 3 years and was served there till he was 19. He married Faye Maltese in 1956. They had 3 children together, and then he was kicked out of the Playhouse. He joined the Pasadena Playhouse. He befriended an actor by the name of Dustin Hoffman. Yeah. But he was kicked out of that Playhouse and moved to New York, where he took minor roles, including one in the Arthur Miller play, A View from the Bridge. He didn't break into Hollywood, though, until he was in his mid-30s and cast in Bonnie and Clyde in 1967, which earned the actor his first Academy Award nomination. He became nationally recognized, though, after scoring the lead role in The French Connection. Great movie again, for which he took home the Best Actor award at the Oscars. So yeah, Hollywood is mourning the death of Hackman. Gene Hackman was, again, one of the really good ones. And this is, something about getting older. You see all these guys that you admire, at least, right, for their skill and what they could do, and then you see them pass away. And Gene Hackman was one of the good ones. So anyway, would love to hear from you. Maybe you can share maybe your favorite movie that Gene Hackman did. You can always do that at uncommonsensepodcast.com. Thank you very much for listening. This podcast is a production of Morganite Communications.